Okay, here we are. Jesse's back. It is nice little Thursday here. We are about to talk about Path of Exile at length. We're going to go through it. My thoughts on the league, some general thoughts. So I will move my face over here. So I have played 5 different builds. The Flicker Strike was the most fun. The Dark Pact Cast on Crit was the most meme and not very successful. The Rage Vortex Void Forge is what I'm currently still playing just to try to finish the challenges. And it's the most, I guess, successful. And then the Guardian was my league starter. I try to do the Voltaxic bow, and I just lost interest in this one. The truth is that I have not been playing a lot of Path of Exile this league. Really, I am. You can't call me like a Path of Exile creator at all because not only did I play, both the Diablo 2 Resurrected and Diablo 3 resets. I also have been playing Elden Ring. I just have been playing other stuff. So I'm not like a lifer on this game. And even though it's by far the #1 ARPG, it is best in class. It is the best that we have available today in 2023. It's the best game on the market. I still am not, I'm not fully hard committing to it. The same way that I don't hard commit to a build. As someone who's been playing Path of Exile for like a decade, it's different this league. And so I felt like I wanted to do a video and just talk about some things more generally, especially as we head into Diablo 4 Season 2, which we'll see how that goes. But this is my opportunity to express some thoughts. So I have my little handy dandy spreadsheet like I always do. Yoink. So first I'm going to talk about, and I already zoomed in for you guys. First I'm going to talk about the league mechanic. There is a generally positive reception on this mechanic, and it reminds me a little bit of Heist. Maybe not exactly, but maybe like a little bit of like Delve in some ways. Basically, when you invest a certain amount of time into it and you get to a certain ranking, that's when profit really starts rolling in, similar to those other mechanics. Heist is a good example where you kind of have to go through a bunch of just, hours and hours of just grinding until you reach a threshold where you're guaranteed better rewards. So the first pro I'm going to say is easy, because I think one thing that Path of Exile wanted to do, Chris Wilson, Grinding Gear Games, they've even said on record, they wanted the game to be difficult. They wanted the game to be harder. They wanted to make the early acts and all the way through the campaign, they wanted to make it difficult. They didn't want players to just have it easy and casually just breeze through everything and having no competition, no contest. Monsters, PvE, easy stuff. Well, however much Grinding Gear Games wants this game to be hard and wants it to be a challenge, TOTA is really, really easy. It is very, very cheesable. You can't die. You can't lose experience. You're just guaranteed to make progress. And especially on the cheesable front, it is stupidly profitable if you make a build for it and you play it the whole league. It is remarkably profitable. And I put skewed relative profit. We'll talk about that in the cons. For me, I'm not really playing Tota, the league mechanic. I'm not doing it because I found out that every time I want to make a new build and I'm excited about my new build, I'm a build maker, I'm a build junkie, I start back at ranking 0. I start back as if I have never done Tota before. I start back at the very beginning. I can't choose my ranking based on the rankings of past characters. I think this was a colossal oversight, and it really, really hurts people who play multiple builds. My entire desire in this game is to play a lot of different things and mostly play meme stuff that nobody else plays, and just have fun with it, try new weird unique items that no one else is using. Well, you cannot do that in Tota. Tota, in order to reach the threshold where you're really getting a lot of good profit and good returns on your investment, you need to have one single build, probably a cheese build, probably like the Elementalist Void Sphere cheese that is specifically catered towards Tota. And then you just grind Tota to get to rank 2000, and you keep grinding Tota to get, good rewards and good profit. Skewed relative profit, what this means in this context is that a new player who is coming in with a random build, who, maybe is just following a forum guide, maybe is not playing fully optimally, maybe has low APM and doesn't understand basic game mechanics. They're literally learning how to play the game. Well, the relative profit of them doing anything in the game is way, way lower than it would be in Tota. Because Tota is easy. And you can't die. So if they were, let's say, Alkengo mapping, and they actually, every now and then they die because they're bad or their build is bad, every now and then they run suboptimal maps and layouts, and they backtrack, and they, losing experience is a big one, but just in general, they don't make as much forward progress. But from a profit standpoint, the gap is vast, right? Some let's say beginner to medium level player who is relatively experienced in Path of Exile and ARPGs, but not an expert, their time invested into Tota is profoundly more valuable than their time invested into Alkengo mapping, just fucking around. So skewed relative profit, the reason I put this as a con is because I think that you should want players to have somewhat similar results gaining currency in all other forms of content with equality. Like the dream scenario, if you're setting this game up, is that the relative time it takes for you to do a Tota successfully, a Sanctum successfully, a, let's say, expedition mapping strategy successfully, relatively you want all those things to give you the same amount of currency. But I think because Tota is so incredibly cheesable, and how you can cut the tournament's times down to like sub 10 minutes, the skewed relative profit is vast. And the reason I even put this in the pros is because I think giving a relatively new player who doesn't know a lot about Path of Exile, giving them access to like 150 divine orbs randomly, I don't actually think that's that bad of a thing. They're probably going to spend it unwisely. They're going to buy a bunch of weird shit that they don't need, and it just, the the player count stays high, and money is flowing in the Path of Exile economy, which is really important in the success and health of the game. So like, who really cares, right? But at the same time, someone like me cares. Where it's like balance is so critical, and especially in an economy based game, it's kind of, there's like a little bit it's relatively fragile, you know, and Hinakora's lock is worth however many divine orbs it's worth right now. A lot. It's stupidly valuable, right? And it's yeah. So I wish for TOTA, if it goes core in the future, as a mechanic, right? And you actually can go back to, you can do the well of passing and be in the tournament zone, and you can just stay there and run tournaments as a thing. I do think that they will likely cut back on the rewards a little bit. And Hinakora's locks might not, honestly, that's the kind of thing where they might not even survive this season. They might do Hinakora's locks was a one-time thing, but we'll see. You never know. And most critically, I do want to be able to play my Slayer build in the same tournament ranking as my League start build. I don't want to have to start fucking ranking up in my tournaments again. That's actually just, to me, that's just I mean, it's terrible, a terrible oversight. They don't do that for Heist. They don't do that for Delve. You don't have to restart leveling up all your Heist dudes from level 1 with every single character. That would be awful. I mean, that would actually be so awful. Be miserable. And so I just don't understand why they would do it for TOTA. And I know people will have, you know, arguments this way and that way, but I think it's someone who cares a lot about making multiple builds. It's just kind of a gut punch. And but I haven't even been playing the League that much, so, you know, what do I know? Overall League thoughts, we'll talk about these. So overall 3.23 TOTA Path of Exile, extremely successful, really. The player count has been insane and has stayed very consistent. There hasn't been a heavy drop off like we've seen after some leagues. The player reception has been good. I think overall, this league has been a success. And even for me, I have had fun. I didn't love how fast my league starter fell off. I think the Guardian has a little bit of an issue like with that, at least in my experience, it did. And I'll have some other complaints on here, but yeah, solid build balance. Solid is the word I'm using because if you look at PoE Ninja, there really are a lot of archetypes. There are a lot of builds that do a lot of different things. And there's a lot of success. People are finding a lot of success playing multiple builds. And some things are a little better than others, but I think overall, the balance of the game and the state of the game right now is very, very healthy from a build maker standpoint, and especially for new players. If someone is getting enticed to get bought in, like, okay, I'm going to really try to spend time in Path of Exile, well, I think it's a really rewarding time to play. So I think that's also why the player count is so good. And, you know, obviously pros, if you just focus on having fun, there really are no cons. You're just gaming, and it's just high quality gaming. Chef's kiss gaming. But some of the cons here, frustrating build / economy balance for old heads like me, slams LOL. What does this mean, Jesse? Tell me. So I've been playing this game, as I said, for a long time, and I've been playing a lot of other games, including things of totally different genres like Elden Ring. And it is a little sad, and I guess I would use the word frustrating, that your build needs to be very, very specifically focused on a certain activity within the game in order to be competitive. And when I say competitive, I just mean in any economy-based game, your success is usually measured, not always, but it's usually measured by the amount of profit you get with the build and the strategy you're doing. Like, that is how most players in Path of Exile measure their success. And even a lot of the content creators and stuff like that, outside of a very few exceptions, most of them, you know, they talk about how to get currency, how to play a certain strategy, how, you know, how many divines per hour I was able to get with this, how to craft items and succeed, you know, make profit from that. a lot of stuff is revolved around the economy. The game is balanced around trade, and it's really one of a kind. No other game is doing economy and trade the way the Path of Exile is. Um, and that's what makes it great, but that's also what makes it frustrating for someone like me, who there still are parts of the game where you are losing or you're playing something uncompetitive, completely non-competitive, like so far behind in the race it's not even close, uh, that it does kind of detract from the fun. The knowledge that I'm playing something that is so off meta relative to like the profit making strategies is a little bit, it's a little bit frustrating. And again, if all I focused on here was am I enjoying the build that I'm playing? Well, of course there are no cons, but I enjoy playing slams, but I can still also be frustrated that slams are embarrassingly behind in single target, in clear, in defenses from all of the other archetypes on the right side of the tree, bows, spell-based builds. I mean, there's there's so many builds that just put slams to shame, and it's not even close. And from like a profit standpoint, the clear speed of bows right now, there's just not a lot of other, you don't, there's not a lot of build flexibility at the high end, at the very top end. There really is not as much as you would think, for that type of content, for clearing. And then a couple other nuanced annoyances. Flasks. I play a lot of other games, so the Diablo franchise, and I played Torchlight Infinite, of course. I think non Path of Exile players have a better understanding of just how messed up flasks are in Path of Exile. I think there is, I don't want to say that they need some crazy overhaul rework, but I do think that it's worth the discussion that, you know, flasks can give you the relative power of flasks, I think, is a little flawed in this game. And I'm not trying to say that as like no hate. You know, I think the flask system is interesting and cool and dynamic and adds a ton more depth to a game that already has a ton of depth. But I think the reality is that, especially if you're someone who plays other action RPGs that are high quality, successful games, I think the flask thing in this game is a little, it's gotten to the point of being a little, maybe you got to rein it in a little bit. You got to nerf a couple things. You got to figure out how to make it work. They did this with aura stacking, and it's still, aura stacking is good. The flask effect stacking thing, I think, has got to go. I think if I'm GGG, I think it's gotta, you gotta, I don't necessarily want to say nerf it to the ground, but you got to do something that makes it so that people who play slams, I always reference slams, but people who play builds that don't have access to flask effect and flask type of things need to have a fair shot at doing the things that flasks do, and specifically getting like 30% damage reduction, getting 40% damage reduction. That's just not an option unless you're using flasks. You know, that's literally, there's no defensive tool on your tool belt, that can actually get the level of damage reduction. So a little bit of a rant over. Magic Find is another nuanced annoyance. I don't need to talk about this too much, but it is, as some people have sort of started murmuring this on Reddit, where they almost wish that it wasn't in the game at all, because, if a build in modern PoE, specifically a bow build, is able to clear Crimson Temples with full quant gear and rarity gear, you as a player who's doing the same thing with a Hex Blast build, you are behind that person. You're basically, that Magic Find will always make your build worse, relatively speaking. And everything is by comparison. Players only care about comparison. They only care about, and it's all that's all ARPGs are. It's just some weird digital dick measuring contest. Everyone wants to compete and be the best. And I don't know how you fix that. I'm not some genius who knows the exact answer on that, but I can't imagine GG's going to fix it anytime soon. I think that'd make a lot of people very sad, but it is in a weird place. It is weird that a fully decked out Magic Find character can clear 80% Deli or Crimson Tibbles. I don't think I think there's needs to be more give and take. You know, if you have Quant, you just do less damage. You know, you got to like add something in there. I don't know what they do, but yeah. So I guess that's the end of my spreadsheet here. I guess my final thoughts are in Metamorph League, which was my favorite league of all time for reasons I won't go into, but um, when organs needed to be clicked to get picked up, uh, and GGG came in with a patch and made it so the organs are auto picked up. That felt like an early league patch where uh, it was like perfectly justified, totally wholesome, and everyone won. Everyone's a winner in that scenario, right? When GGG did the early league patch for this league for 3.23, and they patched TOTA to increase and buff the rewards, not everyone wins, obviously, because some people don't play TOTA, but uh, it completely neglected the fact that the high rewards are at the higher ranks, and you need to grind to get to the higher ranks. So it's like if they had just started Delve League today, and the first 100 Delve depths, everyone on the forums and Reddit is bitching. You get nothing. These rewards are trash. The rewards are terrible. I'm never doing Delve. So GGG buffs the shit out of the Delve rewards. Well, then suddenly Delve is infinitely more profitable because once you get to depth 1500, then those rewards are even more than they would have been before at league start, you know, before they patched it. And it's like, I'm afraid for TOTA. I hope you TOTA enjoyers realize that, you know, the profits from it warrant a severe nerf. And same a little bit with Sanctum, not quite as much, but Sanctum is a different. Maybe we'll talk about that another day. But yeah, I think that GGG made the right call. You want people to want to play the league mechanic. You want people to love the league mechanic, and everybody loves the league mechanic. It is kind of brain dead, but holy shit, you get a lot from it. You get a lot of profit from it. So I guess that's a win for GGG. Anyways, that's all I got. I don't know how much I'm going to play Path of Exile. I'm going to really try to get the challenges done. I really want to, but at the rate that I'm going, I think I only have like 16 or 17. I really, I really am not sure I'm gonna make it. The Diablo 4 reset is in just. I mean, like I said, it's in like 10 days. I mean, it's like just around the corner. It's actually crazy how soon it is. So we'll see if I get the challenges done or not. I don't have that much time, but yeah, I hope you all liked this video. This was a bit longer, but yeah, y'all have a good one. Goodbye.